Hey everybody, welcome to the Solving for X notes. This is kind of a reintroduction for algebraic properties. We're solving 1, 2, and 3-step problems here. So it's just going over, how you manipulate an equation with algebraic methods and, how do you solve for a variable. So at the top of the paper, I put some solving tips. And so I said first look to add or subtract a number to the other side. So that number, look for numbers that don't have any letters with it. So I said, like look to add or minus this 4 to the other side. You always want to do the opposite sign. Um, and I would add 8 to the other side. But if I see something, a number with a letter, I'll just leave it alone just for the first step, okay? Because the next step is to make sure you get all your x's on one side. So then you would want to add or subtract them over, opposite signs, okay? Um, so you cannot combine like terms. So if you have like 5 minus 2x, you can't smush them together and make it 3x, okay? It stays separate. It stays 5 minus 2x because the x that's with the 2, there's not an x with the 5, so you cannot combine them to make a singular number, okay? Once all your x's are on one side, then multiply or divide out the number that's by the variable, okay? So if I have 4x, that means I'll divide everything by 4. If I have negative 1 over 2x, that means I'm going to flip it. With fractions, you flip it and you multiply it, called multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'll multiply everything by negative 2 over 1. And then remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, so this is just a quick overview of algebraic properties. And, sometimes it's just confusing hearing or listening to them read out. So let's just have some practical applications here. So here I have 10x plus 3 equals 6. So the first thing I want you to do is look for numbers you can add or subtract over to the other side, meaning to the other side of the equal sign, and then look for ones that don't have an x by it. So I'm looking at the 3 or the 6. This 6 is all by itself, so I say don't touch it. You're trying to get rid of every number that's around the x, so let's minus 3 for our first step. So if it's plus 3, opposite sign to the opposite side. Okay, so 6 minus 3 is 3. And then I have 10x equals 3. Sometimes I have people make the mistake of putting minus 3 there, and then they end up writing like a 7x here. Don't do that, okay? When you add or subtract a number, when you do it once on, the left side, and then you do it once on the right side, then you've done it to both sides. You've done it everywhere. Think of like adding a slice of cheese to a sandwich. I'm adding one slice of cheese inside the sandwich. I'm not adding it on top of the bread, below the bread, on top of the meat, below the meat. I'm not adding like 5 slices of cheese. I don't know if that example makes sense to you, but it kind of does to me if you think about it. It's like you're just adding it in one spot here. All right. So, yeah. Now I have 10x equals 3. Anytime you have a number written by a letter, they are multiplying together. So I like to say this. It's real cheesy. It's kind of dumb, but it works. 10 and the x are multiplying together, right? They are married together. They cannot be split up unless they get a divorce. The only way to divorce people is to divide them apart. So I'm going to divide the 10 away from the x. That's why I put in the tips. I said you can't ever add or subtract a number to split it away from the variable. So I'm never going to write minus 10 to get it away from the x. I'll write divide by 10 to get it away from the x. And then I have to do it to the other side, so I have x equals 3 over 10. All right, so that's it. You can leave it as a fraction. Do what your teacher recommends. If they want you to get a decimal, do that. But me, I like fractions, so I like to leave it as a fraction. So this next example here, I have negative 1/2 x plus minus 4 equals 12. So, look for the number that doesn't have any letters by it. So I'm looking at a negative 4 and a 12. but the 12's all by itself, so I'll leave it alone. That means I can add the 4 to the other side, opposite sign to the opposite side. So I have negative 1 half x equals 12 plus 4 is 16. All right, so most common mistake I see people make is they see a negative number, by the x, and then they want to plus it over. But remember, it's married to the x. It's multiplying by the x. It says negative 1 half times x. So I need to divorce or divide them apart from each other. Now, you can divide by a fraction. You can do divide by negative 1 half. And then if you're using a calculator, you'd have to use parentheses. And then that would be fine. You can do the same thing over to this side as well. But I don't really like that. When working with fractions, what I like to do is I like to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay? That just means flip the fraction and multiply it to the other side. So here I have negative 1 half x equals 16, and then I'm going to flip the fraction, so that means I'm going to make it negative 2 over 1 and multiply it to both sides. Because when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across, right? So this makes negative 2 times 1 is going to make 2, or negative 2. And then 1 times, there's both negative, so I guess that's positive 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 over 2 makes 1. Anything over itself makes 1. So all I'm trying to say is, when you flip it and multiply it, it cancels it. Okay, that just leaves behind the x. And then 16 times negative 2 over 1, that makes negative 32 over 1. So if it's over 1, you can just write it as a whole number. So x equals negative 32. So again, I just put this note: to get rid of a fraction, flip it and multiply. AKA, multiply both sides by their reciprocal. See? Okay, I've got 2 more examples. I have x's on both sides here. So, I like to just kind of do them one at a time right now. So I'll start with the regular numbers, so the numbers without an x. Okay? If you see one number's positive and one number's negative, then, most people don't like working with negative numbers. So like this minus 18, I'm going to plus it over. But don't write plus 18 here or plus 18 there. You want to group it with your like terms. And then also, you definitely don't want to put plus 18 under the 10x, because you're already plus 18, you're already adding 18 on that side. It's already on that side with the 10x. All right? That's what I meant by the sandwich. You've already added it into the sandwich or removed it. So you just need to add it in over here, and then just group it with the like term, meaning the other number that doesn't have a letter by it. So 2 plus 18 is 20, equals 10x. And then I have 5x, and then there was a positive 20, so plus 20. Okay, so now I just need to get my x's on one side. I have kids, they say, oh, minus 10x, and I'm like, sure, you could do that, but then you'd have nothing over there, and you'd have to write equals 0. So if it's just 10x by itself, why not look at this 5x, and why not get that to the other side? The opposite of 5x would be negative 5x. Opposite sign, or opposite side, opposite operation. So 5x minus 5x cancels. So you get 20 equals 10 minus 5 is 5. And then 5 and the x are multiplying together. They're married, multiplying together. So I'm going to divide them. So divide both sides by 5. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. And that is the answer. Okay, I got one more example here. So again, I have x's on both sides, I have numbers on both sides. Get your x's to one side of the equation, or the equal sign, and get your numbers to the other side. Doesn't matter what side they're on. So I see this minus 8, I want to plus it. Where do I want to plus 8 over to? I want to put it under the 20. Okay, so I have negative 3x equals 6x plus 28. And then I need to get my x's to one side. So I'm going to minus this 6x over, because that negative 3x is already by itself. And then, when you add or subtract terms with x's, you always move them together. Okay? Remember, you can never split up a number and a letter by adding or subtracting them. So you can't just write minus 6. You have to write minus 6x. They're carried together until you divide them. So negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9. So I have negative 9x equals 28. And so, again, the most common mistake I see people make is they want to plus 9 to the other side. But it is married to the x. It's multiplying by the x. So divorce divide by negative 9. And that'll leave behind just the x. And so x will equal whatever 28 over negative 9 is. With negative fractions, it doesn't matter if you put the negative on top, on the bottom, or just on the side. As long as there's one negative there, you're fine. So I have x equals negative 28 over 9. That fraction does not reduce. You could get the decimal if you wanted, but yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you feel like it. Bye.